Well, the word on the playground is that we are hot, so what's going? Dahn Yinz, Casey Kiefer here from the Humanimal Podcast. Joined today in studio here by Aaron Blicey, affectionately known as AB.
Yes, sir, I am here again.
AB's always right off my side on these podcasts. He's really the podcast expert, not me. He gets everything set up and rocking and rolling, and then I just come and open my mouth and say stupid stuff.
Spit knowledge, that's all you do.
Yeah, spit knowledge. That's putting it generously. On the other end of the line, we also have awesome guest today. Super excited to have him on the line. We've got Rafe Neilson from Winchester Firearms. We're going to talk Winchester today. Anybody that knows us knows that we are huge fans of Winchester from the firearms and the ammunition side. I've been a Winchester guy as long as I can remember. Grew up shooting Winchester shotguns. That evolved into the Model 70 in the rifle world. I'm a Model 70 guy through and through. I absolutely love that rifle platform. To me, it is the ultimate. It has never failed me. So we're going to dive into a lot of stuff today regarding that. But first things first, let's make sure we got Rafe on the line now. So, Rafe, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Welcome, and well, thank you for having me. Not welcome, it's your show.
Not really. You
can take it from here if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is. Welcome to my show.
Reminds me of Step
It'll be
Brothers.
a lot shorter than yours, I promise.
It reminds me of Step Brothers. We're going to interview you.
Yeah.
When they're doing the interview with that. Like,
So what do you make before taxes?
exactly. Hello, Miss Lady. Oh, well, we're glad to have you, man. I know it's the summertime. You guys, I know you've got stuff going on out there. I appreciate you sneaking a few minutes away to jump on here with us and kind of shoot the breeze. One of the things I think, and we're going to dive right in here today because I think we got a lot to cover, but, we have done some discussions. We've done a story over on IamHumanimal.com about the birth of the 6.8 Western, and that's one of the things where I think I want to start in talking with you, Rafe. We've heard from the ammunition crew over there and kind of how the 6.8 Western came about. And for those of you that don't know, the 6.8 Western is basically a brand new caliber still at this point.
It's badass.
Yeah, and it is badass. We're sitting here in July, late July of 2021. I think 2020 was a complete blur. But in the midst of the pandemic, Winchester and Browning teamed up kind of as two powerhouses and two titans of the industry to come out with this brand new caliber that truly does make a difference in the 6.8 Western. So the new caliber is out. Last fall was my chance to use it. AB, you had a chance to use it. Rafe, I know you had a chance to use it. But this fall, really, for a lot of hunters, is going to be their first experience.
First go around.
Yeah, and a lot of guys are gearing up and buying equipment right now. So I think this is a really timely podcast to come out with, the 6.8 Western as we move into hunting season. We get into the nitty gritty of gearing up to get out there and go. So that's kind of where I want to focus today, is talking about the 6.8. Particularly, Rafe, you have way more experience with it than I even do, and I got to use it last year a bunch. But you were involved from ground level on the build of this. So why don't we just kind of walk everybody through how that process comes to be? Like, does somebody just say like, hey, I have an idea, let's come out with a new caliber and this is what it's called? And then what's your involvement in that process and kind of ground zero? Let's just start from ground zero.
Yeah, it really was a ground zero deal. It came to us from, it really was the catalyst of a lot of conversations that we had with the ammo team, the engineers on the ammo team, the engineers on the firearms team about new calibers in general. And we'd kicked around quite a few different options actually over the last several years of what was viable and what we could do. And we were looking for something very specific to, what it boiled down to was a Western market. And what it boiled down to is, we all felt like we had some expertise and some what kind of lacked in that long-range hunting profile. We've got guns that really are designed for hunting for the most part in the Model 70 and the XPR. And, a lot of the new calibers that were coming out were a little more target-oriented, the 6.5 Creedmoor, even the 6.5 PRC, and some of those others. They're a little more designed on the kind of the target end more than the hunting end. And we had a bunch of hunting rifles, and really the expertise kind of landed in that hunting world. And so we really kind of thought, what do we need in the hunting side that kind of fits that same profile of long-range accuracy, but also has enough energy for knockdown power, and kind of fits all of the check boxes of what was popular in today's world in terms of long bullets and heavy for caliber bullets and high BCs and all that kind of stuff, but was really more hunt oriented than target oriented. Mm-hmm. And that's where we kind of landed on this concept. And so when the ammo guys, engineers started drawing stuff up, they came to us and said, what can fit in chambers? How do we need to make things different? What needs to happen on the firearm side to make any of these things come together? So really the collaboration started at that of, what does a firearm need to look like, and what does the ammo need to look like to merge together to make this happen? So we kicked over a bunch of stuff in terms of what chamber lengths needed to look like, and what we'd have to do with twist rates, and what was already currently out there that would be similar to that we would need to overcome to make it better, or was this just going to be the Me Too stuff? And so we went through a bunch of that stuff, and it really kind of boiled down to what we thought all overall length needed to be. How it was going to chamber into guns, how we could get into a short action platform, and all of that. And so all that had to come into consideration. We had to look at existing calibers, including the 6.5 PRC, and then the short actions that are out there, the 270 WSM and the 7mm WSM, 300 WSM, and how they were going to compare to that in terms of how they were going to load, making sure we didn't have any issues that way. And so there was quite a bit that we had to go through back and forth in designing this caliber that was going to work from a logistics standpoint, from a manufacturing standpoint, as well as a performance standpoint, and kind of bleed what the overall goals were going to be. So, nothing ever moved until both sides were like, yes, I think this is where we can go, and this is the parameters we have to hit. And what spawned out of that really was kind of a perfect collection of things we wanted. We really were able to check all the boxes that we wanted to have, which was a short action platform with a bullet that was heavy for weight for the caliber, and a high BC that performed at accuracy wise at long range distances, and then carried the energy to that point. So in all of the things that we had to check off in terms of engineering and what had to happen to make it work, we were also able to check off all of the marketing goals of making it actually what we wanted it to be. So it was a great engineering feat from both the ammo side and the firearm side, and the engineers working together to really kind of blend everybody's needs. And at the end of the day, we were blessed to come out with the product that we wanted to do in the very first place. And we're really lucky to kind of land. We're not lucky. This is all guys smarter than I am figuring all this out, but we really did. We hit every piece of the puzzle that we wanted to hit in coming out with this.
It's funny you say that, because as you were describing it and you were talking about, like, basically the questions that you were trying to find answers for, right? Can we get it into a short action platform? Can we do it? You checked all those. I mean, as you were listing those off, I'm like, yep, they did that. Yep, they did that. Yep. They did that. I mean, I have always been a 270 short mag guy. That has been my go-to caliber. I've been carrying that caliber since. I'm a short mag guy in general, or have been traditionally. So, when I first got keyed into this 6.8 Western, it really piqued my interest, because it was like, okay, this is close and similar to the 6.8, but it's also like the 6.5 in a certain sense. And I always describe it plain and simple as if the 6.5 and a 270 short mag had a baby, it would be the 6.8 Western, And it's, one of the things that's been interesting for me to watch is, to your point on like the 6.5, you're getting that far, flat, and fast, and you're getting guys that are adapting, rifle calibers into the hunting world that weren't necessarily made for the hunting world, that were made more for the target guy, right? The guy that's out there ringing steel at 500, 600, 700 yards. And I ask myself all the time, like, yes, you can do that, and yes, you can be successful, but there's very little margin for error. There's very little wiggle room there. I mean, it's all about shot placement at some point, within a certain set of guardrails. But then comes along something like the 6.8, where it's like, okay, now we're taking the mindset of long-range target shooting, but we are putting that into a bullet and a rifle that is capable of making this happen for hunters at long-range distances. So, my personal opinion, first off, is nailed it. I mean, literally nailed it. My successes in the field that I saw with it last year, and believe me, I tested it from over 300 yards to like 3 feet on a whitetail in Nebraska, and it performed flawlessly on both. But, how many iterations do you think, like, what's that process take you? How long did it take you guys from start to finish to kind of work through all that collaboration, all that engineering together? I mean, this certainly isn't like a 3-month, hey, let's get this up and rolling.
No, it's not a 3-month thing, but it's also not all that lengthy as well. I know, and I'd have to go back to the documents, but it's probably a year and a half in the making, give or take a little bit. You got to remember, like, how much we've been working with that team collectively over a variety of different ideas, and so some of the things were already kind of being kicked around from way back,
right.
That we're starting to kind of implement, and we had the luxury of having the short Magnum experience, and so the turnaround time as a whole, I thought was a pretty quick turnaround time from when we really put boots to the ground and say, hey, yeah, we're ready to roll with this. Was I would consider pretty quick turnaround in that year time frame, maybe year and a half time frame.
Rafe, how on the turnaround on that, how quick did it take from like the initial conversations of like, yep, we're gonna do this, to you're on the range shooting it for the first time and testing it? Yeah,
is that like a turn and burn thing?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I imagine that's got to take some planning.
Yeah, it was actually, again, I think all things considered, was a little bit quicker than what I was expecting it to be, where the ammo guys were able to custom make cases and bullets pretty fast, because they're basing off of the parent cartridge of the 270 WSM, so they had the makings. We had rifles here that were short action rifles. We were able to rechamber them pretty quickly with new reamers. The barrels obviously were easy. We'd have to change barrel diameters other than twist rates. And so we were test firing within months of when we said, let's do this.
I feel like that's quick.
We were able to, I felt like it was quick too.
I mean, you guys are rocket scientists, really. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is amazing how fast you can go from a concept to a finished product. Not a finished product, but at least functioning what we needed to have happen and change. It was quick. Like I said, we had the luxury of a few things kind of sitting in the wings that we could pull off of, but really, we were bullets downrange, seeing what was going to happen in what I would consider a pretty relatively quick time frame.
Yeah,
I compared that range experience to that first time shooting, whether it's right or wrong. I know what it's like for Chris and I. We were in New Zealand and we looked at each other when it was the first bite of goat, and it was like, are you going to do the first bite or am I going to do the first bite? Like, there's that whole, who's the first one to pull the trigger physically on the range? That would be, are you going to do it or am I going to do it? You know what I mean? That would be quite the experience.
It is. We have pretty good confidence in what we've got built, and there's safety parameters in place there. But the first trigger pull is definitely one that you remember. That's for sure.
That's awesome. So what was your train of thought the first time you pulled the trigger? Do you remember?
That's crazy. I was just going to ask the same question.
when you got to shoot it for the first time. I mean, I know for me, my first shot was smooth recoil, like everything was just, it felt fantastic the first time I pulled it. So, and I don't know, maybe you shot other variations of it, but do you have a specific thing that stuck out in your mind?
Really kind of the same thing. We talked about what it was, and we knew enough about what it was. I had expectations of similar recoil and experiences what a 270 short would be, and ultimately, you touch that round off and you go, okay, we got something here. This is doable. It's definitely shootable. The recoil is way manageable, and you get off that gun and go, okay, as long as the thing's going to be accurate and carry those ballistics as we expect, I walked away going, I think we've got a winner on our hands, because it's a very shootable caliber that you don't have to worry about. It's not going to kick you. It's not going to kill you. And I walked away going, we've got a winner on our hands as long as it performs on the downrange side.
Yep. Yeah. So when you start talking about downrange and terminal ballistics and making sure everything comes to fruition there,
yeah.
I know you guys you had to do some work on the twist rate. Can you talk about the twist rate a little bit to get the 6.8 to where you wanted it?
Yeah, and that's exactly, that's the main component, and I think where a lot of people err in their comparisons to the 270. Like, why do I need this new caliber? I've got a 270, works just great. Well, that's a terrible argument to make, in my opinion. Is that it's not. It's the same bullet diameter, but the bullet weight is entirely different. You look at a 270 bullet being, generally speaking, a 140 grain bullet. And we pushed this out to a 165 and a 175 grain in some cases bullet in that 277 diameter. So it's a much heavier, longer diameter or longer bullet for what that caliber is known for in 277. And so able to stabilize that heavier bullet, we had to up the twist rate. So a 270 is typically at a 1 in 10 twist rate, and we had to step it up to a 1 in 8 on the Winchester side to stabilize that bullet. Once you do that, you're getting a faster spinning bullet. You're stabilizing the bullet, and now you're getting that terminal velocity at that far end that is far superior than what a 270 is. And so, yeah, you can argue about being a 270 bullet. It's really not, because you've changed that twist rate. You're spinning it faster. You're shooting a heavier bullet. It is a different animal entirely. And that was the problem with the 270 WSM, is that it just shot the same bullet.
Right.
And it wasn't long, it wasn't heavy, and it wasn't spinning the same rate. And so you couldn't get that same long-range energy and accuracy that you're getting out of the 6.8. And that's really, to me, the case size is very similar to a short mag and all of that. The main difference is the heavy for bullet for the caliber, and then having to change the twist rate in the barrel is really the difference maker, what makes this different than a 270 WSM and the rest of those they're trying to compare it to. That's the difference, is you're spinning a bigger, faster bullet.
And the bullet, if anybody hasn't seen the bullet, you can go to IamHumanimal.com. You can check out the story birth of the 6.8 Western. I will be honest, the bullet is sexy. Like when you look at that cartridge, yes. I mean, it's like, wow. Right?
Yeah.
It's got the beef of that 270 short mag, but it's got that long, sleek, everybody's after that right now, that kind of long, sleek, heavy for caliber bullet. And, my experience with it in the field was incredible. The reason that I always shot the 270 short mag is because I'm a big confidence in my equipment guy, but when I find something, I like to use that one thing across as much as I can possibly use it across. So if I'm shooting, I mean, I took it hog hunting in Texas. Mm-hmm. I've taken it whitetail hunting all across the country. I've taken it in the sheep mountains. I've shot it at caribou. I've shot caribou with it. I've done everything with that 270 caliber. Mind you, I've never had to push the limits on long range.
Right.
So that was the one thing that I thought, okay, as I start to get into more Western style, I've done Alaska 150 times. I've done the Yukon plenty of times. I've never done the true kind of long-range Western type stuff that I got to do last year out in Colorado, and then even from a whitetail standpoint in Nebraska. I think one of the guys that was in camp shot a whitetail. What was it,
750 something?
750 yards.
Yeah.
I think it was Ron Spomer.
Spomer.
He just
Spomey.
spanked that deer.
He did.
But, that's what really turned my attention because, like you said, Rafe, a lot of people hear, well, it's a 270. It is not a 270. It is not a 270 short mag. It is totally different. And I almost look now at this 6.8 Western caliber in the same way I looked at that 270, but I've got more effective range. I've got, more versatility with it because I wouldn't be scared to take it on a whitetail hunt. It's not like it's going to blow the deer to pieces, but I'm stretching out my effective range provided I can shoot that far.
Yep.
That's the other question that comes in is my capabilities behind the rifle. The rifle and the ammo are built to do what they're going to do. As long as I'm comfortable, I practice regularly at those distances, and I understand my capabilities, I have effectively extended, what I can make happen in the field. So I saw it in Colorado firsthand last year. I saw it in Nebraska, and so did you, Rafe. Let's talk a little bit about, I think you smacked an elk with Marty just a few days before I did.
You took our elk, Rafe.
You smacked him. I saw the footage.
You did smack
and
him.
happily so.
You got to hunt the beautiful high country ranch. I was down in the nasty,
we're hiking and huffing all over.
90-degree
got
weather.
brushland down there, boys.
Yeah, brushland and like 90-degree weather while we were there. Imagine how that went, but we pulled it out.
Hey, we had a 4 or 5 day hunt?
I think 5 day.
5-day hunt, and we saw like 4 bulls, but we all saw them with probably only about 6 minutes of that whole 5 days. We saw a bull elk, but
that was crazy.
We paid it off.
We paid it off.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what did you. So you went to Colorado. Walk us through kind of your hunt there, and when you pulled that trigger, and I saw the footage, there was no question of what was going on there.
No.
I mean, it was just incredible.
Yeah, it was a great hunt up there. You have those late season bulls. They're bigger, they're heavy, they're shaggy, they're super cool to watch. They've been broken up a little bit. That one I killed had a broken third on it, but it was a perfect scenario. He was out feeding out in a little meadow, and we'd hunted them a couple days, and had some close calls on a bull that I was interested in. It didn't quite come together. And when this one showed up in that meadow, kind of toward the end of that, whatever day it was, I don't remember anymore, but the scenario was too perfect to pass it up. He had that broken tine, but he was a beautiful bull anyway. And it was just really, really nice. And both fortunately and unfortunately, I was able to keep it in a pretty close range. I think it was like a 200-yard shot. I would have loved to have been able to test the distance on that caliber, but at the same time, when we're hunters, we want to make sure we're killing stuff, and so I was happy to get as close as we did as well. But yeah, and if you do see the video, it's on RMEF. We did a little film for it on the RMEF site, and yeah, I hit that bull with one shot, and it literally takes his feet right out from underneath him, and he drops and bounces when he hits, and it definitely does the job. And I was super impressed with that, the terminal end of that. What it did was, it was no short of what you're trying to have happen, and that's to drop animals in their tracks as fast as possible. And it did that, and that's the big difference between it and what you would consider into a 270 or the 6.5 Creedmoor is we are carrying the energy downrange that is able to anchor animals like it does. And that was testament on my bull, is that we were delivering a payload that was, and again, it's only at 200 yards, but we're delivering a payload that was obviously adequate in the way that animal reacted when he was hit, killed immediately on impact. And we're seeing that across the board with everybody else. And so, like I said, I would have loved to have stretched it to 300 yards or something like that to see what happened. But at the same time, it's a great testimony of the payload again that you're dumping into those animals. It's definitely adequate for elk. I know that we've killed a handful of moose with it. It went to Africa a couple weeks ago, killed an eland and some kudu with it as well. And so that was what we really wanted to have out of this, was a caliber that we knew could reach out and carry enough energy to kill big animals at good distances. And so far we're proving it. My bull is one, and so is yours, and so were dozens of others throughout the fall. It really is doing exactly what we drew it up to on paper on day one when we started this project.
Well, it's funny. You use the word anchor an animal, right? And you anchored that elk. I mean,
it went 3 foot to the ground.
You built my confidence, and I'll tell you why. Because when I went out there, I had shot the gun, obviously, but I had yet to actually shoot it at an animal. And old Batches there showed us the video I think he had on his phone. He's like, here's Rafe's, and I watched that animal drop, and I was like, wow. He absolutely spanked that thing. So right after he did that, he's like, all right, let's see where your gun's shooting. So we're standing at the truck, and I said, well, I dialed it. Everything was dialed in when I left the house, obviously flights out here and everything. So yeah, we got to shoot this sucker. So we pulled it out of the case, and I don't know, I think I set up on a piece of split wood or something, whatever Patches had me doing there. And he sets a target out at like 100 yards, and he's like, okay. He's like, go ahead. And I said, wow, she was dialed before I left, but I guess we'll see what happens. So I pulled the trigger. And I swear to you, Rafe, it was the most perfect bullseye I have ever shot in my entire...
You couldn't have drawn it better on the target.
You literally could not have had a more perfect bullseye. He goes, where'd you hit? And I said, well, I cut the center out of the bull. And he looked at me, he's like, no. And I said, I did, I promise. And we walked up there, and he's like, he says to me, you want to shoot again? I said, nope.
Nope.
He actually took a picture with his phone.
I did. I took a picture with my phone. You want to shoot again? I said, nope. I'm just going to take a picture, and we are all good, my friend. Yeah. So, but like I said, you built confidence in me. And then when I got to Nebraska, well, let me finish my elk. So yeah, when I was up there chasing my elk, we gutted it out for days and days. And then finally the last day, everything came together, and it was like, man, all these bulls start showing up out of nowhere. And, my shot was, just over 300, right?
Yes.
I think it was 306 or something like that.
Something like that. Yep.
And which for a guy from Michigan, let me tell you, 300 yards.
We don't get that far.
Yeah, that can be a long ways. I know for you out there, 300 is probably where you start.
Well, I shot my buck in Kansas at 292 this year. That's probably the farthest I've ever shot a whitetail at. With the 6.8.
Yeah, we just don't get that here.
No.
We don't get that in this kind of country. So 300 yards, and I'm thinking, man, and I had seen what you had done. I'm like, hey, this will do it. These guys know what the hell's going on. And man, I hit that. He swallowed the bullet on film. You see, he kind of swallows that bullet, and within 8 to 10 seconds, it's all over.
It was like 8 to 10 steps, and he was done.
Yeah, I mean, it just the energy that bullet hit him with was incredible. And then fast forward to Nebraska, I go over there, and here I am, testing out this long range caliber, and I shoot a whitetail literally at like 20 steps. Yeah. So, so I got to test both ends of the spectrum on my part. So, and then AB, your buck in Kansas.
Yeah, yep, that was crazy. That is a testament just to show the energy at my buck in Kansas, just because I was right there, did it all. At 292 yards, I mean, he ran, maybe 30 yards, and he was done right through the boiler house, and it was great. I mean, and that gun is just so fast and so flat and smooth. The smooth is the word for it for me. The 6.8 is smooth, and that's what and versatile.
It feels great to shoot, and I think for me, whenever I get behind a rifle, that's one thing I'm always looking at is just, do I have the confidence when I pull the trigger?
Yep.
And being smooth and easy to shoot is part of that for me. And I'm sure it is for a lot of other guys, but it ticks all the boxes from the technology side all the way through to the rifle platform. And I got to shoot it in the XPR. So that's one of the things that I'd like to touch on, Rafe, is have you kind of shed some light on, I've been a Model 70 guy forever, but I did get to shoot this 6.8 in that XPR, and man, it was literally just a tack driver in this caliber. That XPR was phenomenal.
Yeah, we're going to chamber the 6.8 in two different models on the Winchester line. It's going to be in the XPR and as well as the Model 70, and of course the Model 70 is the classic Winchester rifleman's rifle, and we love it dearly, and it's one of the greatest rifles ever developed, and having new calibers in that configuration is awesome, and we're doing really well with it. The orders are strong, and things are great, and everybody loves something new out of a tried and true system, and it's kind of fun having something new for that older gun. But in the XPR, that's a relatively new rifle for our line, and relatively in terms of our history. But I think we're probably into year 6 or 7 with it, probably at this point.
Right.
But it's kind of what we consider kind of a base model, I guess, is the best way of putting it. It's coming in at a good price point at that $400 to $500 mark, where a Model 70 is going to run you closer to $1,000. But it's a great place to get into a Winchester product. You're getting Winchester quality. It's kind of a no frills gun. It's pretty straightforward in terms of its construction and what it does. But what you do get is a quality standard that everybody's come to know with what Winchester means. If you have good experiences with the Model 70, which everybody does, you're going to have a great experience with the XPR. Like I said, it kind of strips down some of the bells and whistles, and it's not as classic as what the Model 70 is, but man, for a $500 rifle, you get a lot for it, and you just, at the end of the day, you're getting a rifle that, as you talked about, accuracy-wise, is a tack driver. We're using great components for that gun. Manufacturing is first-rate manufacturing on it, and you're really getting a lot for the price point. You're getting accuracy that you're going to get out of a Model 70. Just with a few less bells and whistles. But, we've had great success with it as a way of people getting into the Winchester family at a price point that's a little more doable for everybody's income. And I'm glad you got some time with it. I know the Model 70 is a little more classic, and it's probably a great one to have up in Alaska and all of that. But, the XPR is a wonderful rifle for the West as well as the Midwest. And, if I was a Midwest hunter on a budget, and was looking for something that I could hunt, my local whitetails with, but then eventually maybe slip out to Colorado for an elk hunt or an elk or a mule deer hunt, I would wildly consider an XPR in the 6.8 Western. It's probably that most do-all configuration that is out there, an affordable rifle with a caliber that can do it all. that's a pretty hard combination to beat.
That's exactly what I found. I mean, you summed up my thoughts perfectly. I mean, A, the accuracy of the thing was just incredible. And then B, the other thing I feel like with the XPR is, and I don't baby my equipment by any means. I try to take care of it. But with that XPR, like, I'll put it through some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't have a hesitation because it's not, $1,000, firearm that's in your hands, right?
Right.
It's, I feel like, I can give it a beating and I don't feel nearly as bad.
Yep.
That being said, my Model 70s have some really good beauty marks on them, I promise.
She's got a couple birthmarks on her.
Yeah, she's got a couple. So what do you guys got coming new for this year, Rafe? What do you got coming out? Anything that's like super exciting right now that you guys are looking forward to that we can kind of foreshadow for some people?
Yeah, we're obviously looking at improvements across the board. So while we don't have anything right now that we can talk about that's brand spanking new, we are doing a lot of stuff to improve the existing models. We're putting fluted barrels on the guns right now. Model 70s has some fluted barrels to reduce some weight, help out some heat dispersion. We're putting muzzle brakes on the guns now as well. That certainly helps with muzzle jump and recoil on guns that need, that have that heavier recoil, kind of to damper some of that. Cool new Cerakote colors and finishes to keep them strong in those extreme weather conditions. New long-range models that have, those configurations for long-range heavier stocks, straight pistol grips, those things that are built for the long-range side. So we're always looking at improving upon the existing lines that we have out there, and that's what we're doing for 21, and 22 looks about the same with a bunch of new improvements to the existing models. They're working really, really well for us. We're cranking them out as fast as we possibly can right now, and we constantly make those little tweaks and changes to make every year's production a little bit better than the last year's production, and every offering a little bit more feature-rich than the last year. And so those are kind of the small things we're doing to keep the products up and flowing, and it seems to be a pretty good strategy looking at success this year so far.
How about any suppressor ready stuff? Are you guys doing any new offerings for stuff that might be coming suppressor ready?
Yeah, so the XPR has quite a few offerings right now that are suppressor ready. I'd have to go and look. You're asking way too many details for this. But there's probably I don't know 5, 6, or 7 different models of the XPR that are suppressor ready and ready to go for those who want to dampen down that sound. It certainly is a popular thing in a lot of states right now, and so we're accommodating that in a pile of those models as well.
That's awesome. You're right. It is a big thing right now, and I hear guys talking about it that I've never heard talk about it before,
right.
Which is one of those things that tells me people are paying attention to it.
The
right?
buzz is there.
Very rarely across my entire career have I ever gotten questions about shooting a gun that's suppressor ready, and now all of a sudden I've got guys asking me what I think about them. So I can tell it's definitely a hot item and a hot subject, and I'm sure it will remain so for a while. The important thing is you guys got plenty of offerings to cover that, right?
We sure do, and we can cover those bases, and every year the suppressor market gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Even though they can't get some of that legislation through, that would certainly help out that. But right. We're ready and able to make that feature set available as those who need it and want it, and man, it does make a difference for especially anybody who's sound sensitive, or you're hunting in an environment where you need to be sound sensitive. It's a nice added-on feature that you're able to use, and we've got products that will accommodate that.
Cool. Okay, shot out of a cannon. I'm going to ask you. You might hate me for this, but your go-to caliber, above and beyond anything and everything. Your go-to caliber. You're getting to go on your dream hunt, whatever your dream hunt may be, and what is your favorite caliber to
Well, see, now that's unfair completely.
Nope, you got to pick one.
I knew you weren't going to like it, and I knew you're going to. It's a loaded question. Very loaded question.
So prior to this year, so I'm going to leave off this year. Prior to this year, my go-to caliber for everything was a 300 WSM. I thought that was about as good as it got. I love a 30 caliber gun, bullet. It carries that energy downrange. What I always hated about the 30 caliber side of things was that it was always chambered in long action configurations. And so when we did the 300 WSM and it came in a short action, I was all in 100%. And I always felt like that was the go-to gun. It's what I use. It's why I've got several different models of rifles in that right now. And that was kind of my go-to. and still kind of does remain that way in terms because I can bump up the weight of the bullet a little bit. But now after this year, I know this is a biased comment and this is the subject matter of the podcast, but I wouldn't hesitate on the 6.8 for just about anything at this point. It's going to reduce the recoil a little bit on my shoulder. It's easier to shoot. What that 300 is, it's going to be a little bit softer like you guys are talking about. It's smooth. It's nice and easy. It's in the short action platform. It's delivering that energy. I have no problems whatsoever taking elk with it. Certainly any deer would be fine. I had a moose hunt plan scheduled for last year that obviously got canceled, but that's what was going with me on a moose hunt. I had that much confidence in it. So short of a grizzly bear, where I think I want something a little heftier, I think my new go-to will be the 6.8. Again, I know I'm biased. I know that's purely manufactured in that way, but I really do believe that the 6.8 Western is the most universally effective caliber that is out there to check off those boxes. So, I think I'm going to kind of table a few of my 300 short mags, and I'm going to hedge to that 6.8 for 90% of my hunting going forward.
I'm in the same boat. That's exactly what I'm doing. I've talked to numerous people that have asked me, and that's what I tell them universally across the board. In my opinion, with my experience, this is going to cover 90% of what the normal hunter ever may do in his life.
You only need one gun.
This will tackle it.
Unless you want to go waterfowling or something like that,
Yeah.
Yep.
Turkey hunting. You're not going to use a 6.8 turkey. Well, you might, AB. You never know with AB. He can get a little squirrely sometimes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's been awesome to kind of be part of the journey of the 6.8 Western and just our involvement from early on and hearing about it and understanding it and then getting to try it and test it in the field and watching the performance come to fruition. I'm just excited to see what this thing does long term. I have a feeling that this caliber is going to make waves for a long time to come, and as more people use it, more people find out about it, more people get successful with it, that snowball just continues to build. And you guys, from the rifle side, on the Winchester and the firearm side, you guys absolutely hit the nail on the head. The ammunition crew, everybody that was involved, kudos to everyone on the 6.8 Western. I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. We put a lot of work into it. We believe in it. Like I said, we're headed into the first real open season. Last year was all kind of industry based. It was guys like you and myself out there that had first run at it. But I think we probably took close to 50 animals in the last season, and with all great success. And so this is the first year we're going to turn it over to the general public and put it in their hands. And I think we're going to have some great results. We know we're going to have the numbers out there. The numbers of rifles we've sold in that caliber is wonderful. I think it's probably a top 5 caliber right now for us in 2021, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
In terms of a new introduction to jump that fast and that high up in popularity. It's a good spot for it to be. So we know we're going to have a lot of guns on the market this year. So people have really bought into the story. They understand it. They believe it. They're bought in. They're gonna take it out in the field. We're gonna have a lot of guns out there in the field this year with this new caliber, and obviously really put it to test. But we're not worried about that. It's already proven, and I think a lot of people are going to be very, very happy with what they bought this year, and it's gonna come across as a proven winner in very short form, I believe.
Yeah, if it's anything like my experience, it'll take one animal, and then it's all over, or one good solid day at the range, and then somebody's mind is going to be made up on the 6.8 Western. And the last thing I just want to touch on with the 6.8, the incredible part is this was all done in the midst of, I don't know if anybody heard about this thing called COVID during 2020, but you guys were able to climb that mountain on top of the development of this caliber and the rifle that goes along with it, because it is a two-sided equation all during COVID. So I don't know how you guys did it. I know you were shut down and locked down just like everybody else in the world, but like I said, kudos, well done, congratulations. You guys have got a believer in me. You've always had a believer in me from the gun side or from the firearms standpoint, and being able to come out with new calibers like this that are unbelievably effective, it's part of why I love Winchester and always have.
No, we appreciate that. It's great to have you on board, and it's great to have know that we've got partners like you to throw these new products in their hands and give it a try and give some feedback. There's nobody that we value more than you guys, because nobody's going to put it through the paces like you guys are. And when you guys say you like it, and I've heard you guys not complain, but your feedback is honest and it's true, and we make adjustments accordingly on a lot of stuff that you guys give us. And to hear that you're a believer in it makes us feel good, because we know that you put it through paces that sometimes we're not able to. And when you give that endorsement, it means a lot to us, and so we thank you for that.
Well, we'll keep doing it. I've always said with something like Dropped, where we spend an extreme amount of time in the middle of nowhere with no food, living off the land, as long as I keep making it out alive, I'll keep doing it. And that almost didn't happen here as of a few weeks ago, but we're going to save that whole incident for a different podcast,
yes,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said for being the guinea pig. It's awesome to get a look behind the scenes. So that's really all I've got, man. I know you're busy, and I appreciate the time. AB, you got anything else you want to?
Yeah, I mean, Rafe, could you kind of hit on, if anybody's wanting to learn more about, the 6.8 or Winchester in general, anything you guys are offering, can you kind of direct them that way right now?
Yeah, absolutely. You can jump on winchesterguns.com and go through that site. We've got a lot of information about the caliber itself. You jump on the product pages of the XPR and the Model 70, find out the exact models. I think we're chambering it in essentially every single model that's out there, so you'll be able to find the right model that you're interested in. We'll have it available this fall. Their guns are shipping already. They're in the stores, or at least they've been shipped to the stores. They may be off the shelves by now. But yeah, you can learn a lot. We've got a lot of articles, a lot of videos up there on our website that will explain a lot from a technical standpoint of what we got going on for us. And it's a great resource to learn all about Winchester products, but there's a lot to learn on the 6.8 as well sitting out there.
Very cool.
Good deal. Well, listen, Rafe, I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, and I'm sure we will be talking again. I know as we approach waterfowl season here, we may jump back on the line and do a little bit of discussion around SX4s and some of the stuff you guys have got going on there, and give us another excuse to jump on the horn and chat.
I love it, man. Anytime. I always appreciate talking to you guys, and it's an honor to be on your show. So thank you.
Sounds good. You are more than welcome, man. You guys keep doing what you do, and we'll keep doing what we do, and everybody have a safe and happy season out there. That'll be it. We are signing off from this episode of the Humanimal Podcast with Rafe Neilson from Winchester Firearms. You guys be good, and we'll talk to you next time.
Mama say it's a new day, son.